Our first story highlights an artist with a style that's guaranteed to brighten your day. In fact, he's an old friend of mine, John Paul Daniel, who uses bold colors and quirky characters to create his own fanciful world. Well, Miranda Cohen entered that world recently and got to know this fantastic artist, known by many by another name.
In the heart of Kingston Springs, you will find all sorts of exotic animals: fish, turtles, giant snakes, maybe even Spot the King. All creations of an eclectic mastermind. You know, one of those artists with only one name.
I had a dream that said, "You're Bebo." And I was like, I woke Betty Blair up, I said, "Hey, I'm supposed to be Bebo, and that's gonna be my folk art name." And it just fit perfectly, and it just took off. It just melted my art with the name. And I wanted one name, like Picasso.
And that's the way it happened in 1993. John Paul Daniel, the Nashville musician, also became the beloved folk artist known as Bebo.
Here we go. Cool.
Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to very artistic parents, he developed a love of nature and an eye for bright color and detail.
When I was a kid in Tulsa, my dad would take us to powwows all the time, Indian powwows. The Osage Indians in Tulsa, they did beautiful leather and beadwork, and so maybe subconsciously somewhere is in there. I don't know, I love color.
As a musician, John Paul Daniel traveled the world, and he brought his love for Native American, Mexican, and Caribbean culture back to Tennessee.
I am self-taught, all self-taught. This lady one time, she goes, "You don't know what you're doing, do you?" And I said, "No." She goes, "That's why it's beautiful." I fish a lot, down the Gulf, and so all of the aquatic critters and the gators and snakes and fish and, squids and all, just everything that I can think of, everything that God puts in my mind, I can try to do something interesting and different, and it's challenging. Because I would take a hatchet and a hammer, and I was cutting all this stuff up, and then a friend of mine in Memphis said, "Hey," she saw it, she goes, "Let's do a show down here." Well, we sold out.
Carving and sanding pine, oak, and poplar, then hand painting in vivid colors. He has a signature style that is all his own, and his one-of-a-kind pieces are instantly recognizable.
And these pineapple heads, and they sell like crazy. And I like to make big snakes, big gators, like that big one up there, 8-footers. I like to make big stuff, but the heads, I don't know, I just have fun make them. They make me laugh. Man, I still got it. A lot of people know me, and I've been very blessed through my artwork to meet so many people. Making art is a very peaceful thing for me.
And it is through his art, his faith, and his many friends he has met over the years that he is drawing on that peace after the recent passing of his wife of 33 years, Betty Blair.
She was my biggest fan. To honor her life, I've got to keep going. To honor her life, I've got to keep living mine. I got to heal. And the grief has been grief. Trying to make grief your friend is tough, but it's getting better.
John Paul Bebo says one of his favorite things to paint are the pineapple heads, but more recently he has been painting straight from his heart. This has become his mantra.
This too shall pass is really selling good right now. I'm living it right now. Grace of God, I can just keep going, I feel blessed. I feel really, really, really blessed, and my life has been colorful, and I've lived a blessed life,
And from all his years as an artist and a musician, of course, he's got some pretty famous friends, and he's wise enough not to share their stories.
No, Joe Elmore stories. Joe is my buddy, man. I love him. We've known each other. We've known each other since the '80s. I love him, and he's my brother. He's a hell of a bass player too.
He'll be happy you wouldn't tell us any stories.
Yeah, no, well, I don't want him telling on me either.
Okay.
You know,
Fair enough.
and here's to Joe and to Tennessee Crossroads.